Last 5 seconds. Ready? Start. We have gathered here in Nalanda, the renowned ancient university town, with the noble aim of reviving the ancient glory of Nalanda in the world of knowledge. It is with this object in view that the government of this state has decided to establish the Magad Research Institute for the study of Pali and Prakrit and research in Buddhist literature and philosophy. Nalanda is the symbol of the most glorious period of our history, for not only did the quest for knowledge blossom here into its fittest shape, but also because it bound together at that time the various parts of Asia with links of knowledge. There are no national and racial distinction in the realm of knowledge, and this was true of Nalanda. The message of Nalanda was heard across the mountains and oceans of the Asian mainland, and for nearly 6 centuries it continued to be the center of Asian consciousness. The history of Nalanda dates back to the age of Lord Buddha and Lord Mahavira. However, the gift of knowledge is by its very nature so inexhaust- inexhaustible that neither the giver nor the recipient can ever feel totally satisfied. The gift of money not no doubt has its limits, but knowledge is free of any limits, and even one solitary individual can by his sole effort flood the whole earth by the light of his attainment. The urge imperceptibly bound with the name of Nalanda was not valid only for the past but should also continue to inspire in future. The newly established Magda Research Institute, we should resolve to pursue truth and present the results of our research to humanity with an open mind. Nalanda University was born with the help of liberal public charity and donations. It is believed to have been founded originally with an endowment created by 500 traders who purchased land with their money and offered it to Lord Buddha as a gift. The 8th century inscription contains a telling description of Nalanda. The high spires of the viharas in a row seemed to be sky high, and around them were tanks of clear water in which floated red and yellow lotuses interspersed interspersed by the cool shade of the mango groves. The architecture and the sculptures of the halls, containing rich ornamentation and beautiful idols, filled one with wonder. Although there are many sangrams in India, but one at Nalanda is unequaled. It gives me great pleasure to find that this institute is being established today for the study of that literature and scientific research into the materials available in it. I believe that the study of Sanskrit literature would be useful for the solution of the problems facing the world today, and therefore our universities should encourage its study. I had confessed in those lectures that even though I was no scholar of Sanskrit, I had come to hold this view on the basis of what I had learned from the opinions of Sanskrit scholars as expressed in their books. These are that the basic elements of our present day cultural life are to be found in Sanskrit literature. In this connection, I would like to say a few words today about the characteristic features of Sanskrit literature. Of course, it is not necessary to relate all this to scholars. For those, however, who are ignorant of Sanskrit and who, due to their training in the present educational system, give great weight to whatsoever Western scholars and those Indian scholars following in the footsteps of the former say on any subject, I consider it would be efficient to give some citations from the authoritative works of such scholars. I also entertain the hope that these educated Indians would duly realize the importance of Sanskrit and would help in bringing about a Sanskrit development. Sanskrit literature, as I have already remarked, is an invaluable treasure house not only for India but also for the whole world. Its great age, its extent, its richness of content, its beauty and sweetness of language are all such as to make it not only shed light but on the whole history and culture of humanity, but also to fill the heart of man with beauty, pleasure, and joy, and to give him a glimpse of the world of ideals by realizing which alone can be he make his life fruitful and achieve salvation from the bonds of this world. It is no exaggeration to say that the history of the cultural evaluation of mankind cannot be prepared without the help of Sanskrit literature. There is no other nation in the world which has been able to keep its ancient literature intact as we Indians have been able to do. The very work of rishis have come down to us in their entirety, and we can see in them a clear picture of the conditions of that age. That picture no doubt is very helpful in reconstructing our ancient history today, and it will continue to remain useful even in the future for future generations in our country's top.